So we are going to start, and we'll have 1 hour to discuss and exchange on this theme, which is a central theme in this show, that is the image garment. Some times ago, well, you know, we are here in a fashion show, but the image garment have inspired fashion and vice versa. Image garment, that is what we used to call uniform, but uniform, that is an obsolete word. So whether it be in terms of material or in terms of design or way we wear those garments, well, this is something which is rather new. To discuss about this theme, our Sofitel friends have had difficulties to join us, but there will be Mr. Guillaume, the boss of Naola. What is Naola? Could you tell me? Naola is a hostess agency which intervenes in 3 sectors of activity: event organization, corporate organization, and airport sector. So this activity leads us to be a very large consumer, a big consumer of image garments, and it's a pity that we can't use the name of uniform. So maybe we'll deal with that later on, but we are an agency which is a very big consumers of such garments, and I've got a specific, a peculiar idea about those garments. Those are different types of garments. I mean, uniform for me does not exist. That's a way we are dressed. Somebody who is in contact with the visitors or the customers must have that type of communication tool, because this garment is a communication tool which carries the image we represent. So that is the way you work. I mean, as a designer, you are going to define your mission. I think you are following the same approach. Today you think about the customers first. Well, my name is Criviano Bidi. In 2009, I've created my own brand with my name. It is based on the working wear, but according to my past experience, I dedicated a specific attention to comfort and, the beauty of it, but still reconciling this with the workwear spirit. I don't know how to explain this. Yes, you've got to explain it anyway. Well, I'm trying to mix up the technical act with the artistic act due to my past experience. I want to stick to the real spirit of a workwear, so as to make sure that our garments are as close as possible to what the customers are expecting. Régis de Monclos. Régis de Monclos, you work for Eddie Flory, a big enterprise that everybody knows, of course. Well, could you tell us what is your company and what would you like to say to introduce yourself? Well, Eddie Flory, that is an industrial company, textile company, a company which is 200 years old, as a matter of fact, but it's still walking strong and very young. It regenerates its own textiles. We work in the fashion area, even though we work with workwear, so we are continuously reinventing ourselves. Just to understand that better, I mean, 190 years old, the company was a weaving company, then it it was a spinning company, sorry, then it became a weaving company, and recently it was transformed into a garment production company, more specialized in workwear and imagewear. So it's a very old company, but it's both old and very modern. At the beginning of this 21st century, we have an evolution in front of us which I consider as formidable. Very often I compare our profession to the automotive industry. You know, we start with the design bureau, then we move to the to the fabrication, production. I mean, we've got this whole range of activities. And today in the automotive industry, there is electricity, which is something absolutely essential. Well, we are also stepping into a new era with the eco-design, innovation, connected garments, and so on and so forth. So we are at a crossroad at the moment, and the next 20 years will be rather fantastic. Well, you are very enthusiastic, as we are in this show, and that's why we are very happy to organize this roundtable session. Well, does this image fit with fit with the problems that we are experiencing at the moment? You know, the eco-design, how this fashion industry is more and more a service company, and this service company is what you are involved in, my dear friend. No, not only. Just to introduce Bregger in a few words, you know, I join the fundamentals of what my colleague just said a while ago. Our job is to produce quality, high-quality products. We have done that for 87 years only. This is in the Vosges area, and we do that with cotton and fabrics that are processed in this area of France, I mean the Vosges area. We are more specialized in hotel and catering activities, you know, from the kitchen to the service. And what you can see in the on TV, I mean, all chefs, for example, well, they wear a red, white, and blue color. Well, this is our design. We have also designed the iconic Bocuse, golden Bocuse jacket. That is an iconic jacket that all chefs are using either in their own restaurants or when they are organizing a big event. Now, you work on different types of market. When you talk about catering and prestige garments, well, it's not exactly the same thing. When you are a designer or a stylist, how do you meet those problems? Do you first think as a fashion designer and then adapt it to the image wear or not? Well, I've got only a 10 years experience, says the lady. You know, I am in a niche sector. Well, that's precisely why you are here. You know, my customers are looking for a design expertise. But, you know, I don't think about design first. I mean, I try and reconcile this design, this styling, and the technical requirement of my customers. This is what they are expecting to find in my company. Actually, you know, well, it is an industry. I tend to move to something which will be an industrial process. Since we're talking about industrial processes, the floor is back to you. You talked about the technical panorama between the extraordinary mutation of the group, which is yours. Well, you know, you were talking about the automotive industry, but the textile industry is certainly the industry that has the largest number of steps in the production of garments. I mean, from the production of the yarn to the fabrication of the garments. Well, yes, true. And what I regret is that this industry is not more expensive than it is, I mean, in terms of selling price. When you consider the number of steps and the time you need to produce a piece of garment, well, that is extraordinary, and the customers do not realize that. We try and you know, make sure that the customer has the right product in the right at the right time. But actually, it's a very complex process from the yarn to the production of the garment itself. even before talking about the future, I mean, if we consider the last 25 years, it's surprising to see how these clothing and the garments and the wares have changed. Well, you mean in the new market or in general? No, no, in general, and we don't even notice it because you know, it's gradual. But if you consider for the last 5 years, we have clothing which is more fitted. I mean, the fashion is for a very fitted clothing. And this is because the style has been modified, but also the materials have made it possible to have that kind of fitted garments. Elastam, for example, is a material which makes it possible to have a very comfortable and fitted trousers, for example. 6 to 8 years ago, this did not exist. You mean that technology has been integrated into the production processes because there is a demand for it? Or is that due to the pieces of research that the industries have carried out to bring this plus service to their customers? Well, both of them. Well, it is due to the proximity that we have with the customers. We work with the chef, with the butchers, with the caterers. We produce our workwear for them. Yes, you produce you fabricate the product first. No, we design those workwear with them first. So Pierre Hermé, for example, comes to you with his production and you start working with them. No, he brings his idea. He brings his idea, not his product. Do you have the video that I have given to you? Could we show it? Because it illustrates this. Well, let's take the example of the big chefs. You know, they've got an idea, they've got a concept, they want an image for their restaurants, for them and their brigade. So the work which is to be done with our stylists is to meet them, spend some time to test the workwear and innovate permanently. So each and every year we offer new products for men and women, and with the idea that it is a chef that will wear this workwear and will, you know, this workwear will pass his image. Now, you see that is the work of the design office, the work we work in the Vosges area. You know, we work with textiles that are processed in the Vosges area, and we work until the personalization of the product with embroidery, for example. This is a specific know-how. You know, the buttons are handmade, and you know, those buttons need 3 minutes 41 seconds to be produced. So you see, well, I suppose that this product is rather expensive. Well, yes and no. I mean, this is a jacket we have designed with the chef of the Reserve in Paris. Well, Claude, you wanted to say something. Yes, it's true to say that the customers gives us specification and express their requirements, but the customer may be educated too. So we can advise this customer. We represent his image. Well, I very often hear that a workwear must not be wrinkled. I mean, it must last 3 years. Well, to me, it's impossible. You know, a flax costume or a flax jacket gets wrinkled, and it's very, very elegant, very smart. So I think we've got to advise our customers. What we produce must be unique and, you know, designed for them. Well, when you get to a building and you are welcomed by an hostess, if this hostess is not well dressed, well, she may be the best hostess in the world, but it's not appreciated. You know, Paris, that is fashion, Paris, that is an image, and you must stick to this image. The foreign customers are looking for that kind of an image. They are in demand for it. And, you know, the way those hostesses are dressed, well, is part of the image of a company. Well, you know, you are not using the word workwear. Why is that so? Well, I don't like it so much, you know, that much. You know, a workwear, you know, I have just produced a slide with some of our dresses and garments. You know, this is the type of garment that may be worn by everybody. And, you know, you must be pleased to wear that kind of dress. Those, I mean, two dresses must not be identical. When you wake up each and every morning and you see the same dress to be worn and you say, well, I've got to wear that during another week, well, it's not motivating. Could we see the pictures that you have, Maura, have sent to us? Yes? You know, with a big M. Well, Maula, well, we like what we do. We like our customers, and we want them to be satisfied. We want to stick to their activity. Of course, there are prejudices on those or specifications for those dresses. They must be black. They must last at least 3 seasons. Well, to me, one of those dresses can't last more than 1 year or 3 seasons maximum. And when you explain that to a customer, they can understand that. Well, it's going to be a little less expensive. It's going to last a little less than the others. These are the dresses that our hostesses wear at the moment. You know, leather dresses. Well, you could wear that. I mean, each and everyone could wear this. You know, some private people are wearing those dresses. And it has nothing to do with a uniform, as a matter of fact. When you see that, you can say, yes, the management is taking care of the enchantment of their customers. You know, aesthetics has changed a lot over the last few years concerning these dresses. Well, when we talk about the workwear spirit, this is because I was really very enthusiastic on that. You know, the jean, for example, which is a super invention, has evolved a lot with elastane and the new fibers. You know, workwear is not pejorative at all. I started with collections inspired by the workwear, and immediately people came to me and asked me for workwear for chefs or for museum guards and so on and so forth. The chefs that wanted jackets, flax jacket, linen jackets, you know. So it's, you know, workwear may be governed by a creative spirit. And, you know, uniform at the time were left to ready-wear industry. But now, I mean, we can bring some kind of creative and design spirit into it. And now I try and mix up both things. I can't but produce professional and workwears, but I can't but have collections too, because we are workers of the modern times, even in our daily life. So this is interesting also.
Moi, j'ai pas envie.
In the ready-to-wear garments, elastane, of course, has modified or has transformed the workwear, but the 100% cotton wear is coming back too. So it's interesting to keep an eye on both universes. Well, the question that I can put is, can't you, in your collection, ready-wear collection, can't you propose workwear too? Yes, that's what I do already. And it's interesting to meet personalities, to know how to listen to them and bring my expertise. You know, I feel that I'm still learning my job. When I work with fabrics, well, this is what you are saying. I mean, there is a lot, it needs a lot of working hours, but also many people, I mean, working together is a necessity for producing such a piece of garment. You know, it may be the, you know, in the production of a workwear, there are a lot of professions involved. And all those elements, those professions are important, from the button to the embroiderer or the I mean, pockets also are of major importance. Yes, you wanted to say something? Yes, I'd like to come back to the fashion, which changes very often. And today, I mean, you don't want your employees to be dressed in the same way all the year long. That is very, very interesting, very good, and very sound. But we have to be aware of the fact that the disposable, or so quote, disposable fashion is something that is a real problem. And I believe that we've been working for 10 years on this, how to recycle, how to transform the workwear and give them a second life. And you know, we have concrete solutions at the moment. We have tried to make a first operation from old workwear. We have tried to produce new ones. Well, in the workwear, we are the first one to do so at the moment. We recover approximately 4 or 5 tons of old, used, workwears from one of our customers. You know, those were trousers in particular. And we have transformed those trousers. We have removed all hard points, and so on and so forth. Then we have shredded all those fabrics, and we have produced, we have spinned those fibers. Long fibers, short fibers, short fibers, short fibers. And we are compelled to add 20% of virgin cotton fibers to have also long fibers to produce a thread or yarn. And we have made T-shirts out of it. Trousers were thus transformed into 15,000 T-shirts. But to understand all that, you know, per T-shirt we have saved, I mean, as compared to a newly created conventional T-shirt, we have saved more than 6,000 liters of water. For 15,000 T-shirts, we have saved the consumption of 265 households during 1 year in terms of water consumption. So that's fantastic. So I invite you to visit this booth. You know, all those technology are enhanced. I mean, all conferences that are held here should, I've got some connections together. We were talking about biosourcing yesterday. You know, how can we produce jeans, for example, eliminating as much as possible the hard parts, because we can't recycle those hard parts. Well, just one experience. You know, we have done that kind of operation too. We have developed with recycled and reprocessed, rewoven and recut products. We have produced polar jackets for the homeless. You know, that was a charity operation. So we have adopted this approach too. It's an approach which is limited to the east of France at the moment, but at least 400 homeless are wearing recycled polar jackets that we have produced with recycled materials. Well, I think it is going to be everybody's responsibility, our customers, and our responsibilities, industries. We have to find solutions. Even if we are large SMEs, we are still SMEs, and we'll have to find solutions together. Well, I think there is a working group on the workwear, chaired by Jacques Jank. Isn't that true? I think I've heard about a working group at the male workwear federation. Yes, we've been working on this for approximately 10 years, so there are a lot of working groups. But what is difficult is to move from the working group to the reality of facts. Well, we need everybody's cooperation. Everyone is doing something in its own corner at the moment. You know, sound insulation, for example, and so on and so forth, may be produced with recycled material, but it remains craftsman production. So we'll have to create an industrial recycling sector, and then we've got a lot of work to do still. And we can't do that but if we work together. The difficulty also is to collect those used clothing, because you know, people are not really willing to give them back. Now, you mentioned something which is important. You know, people would come to Braga because of the durability of their products. You know, the workwear should last 3 years. But now those jackets, for example, are supposed to be worn during 1 year only. But there should be any compromise on or any trade-off on the quality. You know, is the customer ready to pay for the renewal of the vest, but he doesn't want the pockets to move away or stray, you know, you know, to make sure that the jacket is durable, for example, well, there is a know-how which is necessary. And well, an example, for example, people are buying shoes 150 euros worth, but they are reluctant to buy a jacket at the same price. So the profession should consider how to enhance the quality and make sure that the customers understand that there is a value added in buying from our companies. You should also take into account the fact that such a jacket is cleaned very, very frequently, and you know, in selecting those garments, I mean those workwear, there is also a selection of the service supplier which is going to wash it. If you wash this jacket twice a week, for example, it must be very, very durable. Messe Frankfurt France has bought Geotexpo. It's another show on the industrial cleaning technologies. All those new technologies are, well, there are a lot of new technologies at the moment in terms of cleaning. And those cleaning technologies are more respectful for the materials treated. Well, if they can discriminate a napkin from a prestige vest or jacket, sorry, this is something very important. You've got to realize that the large cleaning industries, you know, can't make the discrimination between those various products. So there is a logic which is changing at the moment in those cleaning industries. Well, to go to the very end of the life cycle of a workwear, and the advantage of having a workwear lasting 1 or 1.5 years only, the advantage is that those, when they are scrapped, they are still in a good condition. And we work with an association which is called the Cravate Solitaire. They collect those workwear from us, and they give them to unemployed people that are looking for a job. Those workwear that we give them make it possible for them to have to be dressed in a nice way when they have a recruitment interview, for example. So we try and give some kind of pride to people that are in a difficult situation.
Well, I think we all have a responsibility. We have to be careful. We have to think about the type of garments that we offer. So, for example, we offer the recycling of garments because depending on the fabric, they may not be entirely worn after a year and a half. So I think we have to do our level best here to make sure that garments can be used somewhere else, that they can be used in the right way. But then you can't ask for a wrinkle-proof garment that is not polyester, for example. I mean, cotton will always be cotton, linen will always be linen, it will always wrinkle. So it's really about choosing the right companies, the right professionals. We need to give people the best garments depending on their depending on their demands. Right, ladies and gentlemen, Claude, you're talking about you're telling us that people or businesses often change workwear. Well, so in some industries, people have to also wear work shoes. So there's a growing accessorization. And well, we had a colleague of Armolux, a French company, who was supposed to come here this morning. But anyway, my question is, how can you customize as much as possible using accessories or other ways, for example, workwear, to make sure workwear can be as original as possible? Right, let me answer this. First, customization is really part of our business, of our job, first with embroidery and also with adjustments. You know, we have lots of different shapes and sizes amongst our customers. People are usually, you know, they're quite, well, they have different body forms. Now, about your question regarding accessories, we have, for example, shawls, scarves for chefs. And also, in the catering and hospitality industry, there's lots of staff turnover. And the problem is that business leaders are not always willing to have a wide range of garments for their employees, for their staff, which means that we have to adapt. Now, it's better to have more elastic garments, well, at least in the hospitality industry. But the fact is that, as I was saying, there's a lot of turnover in staff in the catering industry. So that's why businesses order or prefer to work with aprons, because an apron can be adjusted to anyone. But an apron is a great product. Yes, it can be. Yes, it also depends on the fabric, on the material of the apron. Yes, aprons are really back in vogue, back in fashion. Well, I think you're quite right about accessorization. I think it's a great way to customize workwear. For example, if you can do the same with a bow tie, it changes everything. It's an accessory. It completely changes people's looks. But it's what you're saying is really interesting, because to me there's a really a new generation of uniforms or outfits. In the last 10 years, there's been a real revival. In the past, it was completely, you know, it was out of the question to have uniforms. People wanted to have a sort of more relaxed, cool atmosphere in the workplace. But now, as you said, it's also very important to have a sort of an outfit to unite your staff, your teams. Yes. And so the businesses want to have this sense of belonging again, and it's really for us to bring this this special touch. As I said, I don't wear uniforms personally, but I have to create garments that are comfortable for people, because people wear these uniforms all day long. It's exactly like, you know, when I see workwear without pockets, that's a nonsense. because people have to be able to put the key to the locker room for example. So I think we really have to bear in mind the people who will wear these garments. And also businesses have to accept that they will have to change these garments quite often, because sometimes, there's the problem of perspiration, for example, or other things. Right, so you have to take care of your team. Yes, well, if an employee does not feel comfortable in their garment, if it's too tight, or if it looks old-fashioned, people won't enjoy it, and customers will not get to the expected level of service. But if someone feels comfortable in their garment, that's much better. Now, let me pick up on what you said about accessories. There's something I'm really fighting against in our industry. So people can sometimes wear a red or a green shawl. We're actually thinking about this. I think we should rather be looking for something made of fabric. I think we should work on the color of the garment. We had, for example, a collection of small dresses, a courage-like, and we had many different colors. So, if for example, instead of having people wearing black and white garments who look like penguins, it's better to have something dynamic, something fresh at the reception desk, for example. But then it really depends on what you want to do. Do you want your receptionists to be really low-key? I think we really need to boost businesses. I think you need to give them something fresh and original, and this is possible with colors. You can't. We have to stop using shawls all the time. It's fine, but it's really the easy way, the easy solution. Well, the thing is that each industry, each trade has its own identity. Let me give you one example and one opposite example. For example, bakers. Bakers do not have like a specific occupational trade identity. They just wear a T-shirt. If you go to bakers today, people just wear a T-shirt. Now, if you look at butchers and butchers in France, they have created this visual identity. If you go to, for example, to a butcher, people today wear a tie, and they even wear hats today. And it really defines the visual identity of this trade. Today, butchers in France, they give you a very warm welcome. And it's not the same amongst bakers. A lot of bakers just welcome you like this, wearing a T-shirt. Whereas if you go, for example, to butchers or caterers, there are some standards. I'm not saying that they wear ceremonial dresses, ceremonial garments, but there are some standards. But is it recent? Well, it started about 10 years ago. Well, each trade, each occupation has its own standards, its own code, so to speak, and so we need to design garments drawing inspiration from this. As we usually say, we try to design garments bearing in mind the dreams of our customers. Our customers usually have an ideal garment in mind. Right, but it's the same as the image of the profession, right? But it's really interesting. Now, you talked earlier on about your collections. You said that you work with designers like you, for example. And you said that you come to trade shows like this one to buy fabrics and materials. And then I suppose you have a collection designed by your friends here. But that's also why you're here. So sorry, I've just interrupted you. Sorry for being rude. But we're talking about uniforms here, but actually in uniform, the only thing that remains here is as in unique. That's interesting. Yes. Well. Again, thank you very much for holding this panel discussion. It's always a good thing to meet your customers and to offer them a choice. But it means that customers have to have the opportunity to touch garments, to get a feel for it. And also they have to see their staff members wear garments. It's better. So we've made a choice. We've decided to work with, well, I'd say a stylist or a designer, someone who designs ready-to-wear garments, someone who's has some reputation. So we gave this company a set of specifications. We get some proposals, then we identify some models. We then invite our customers to a showroom, and we have our staff, so hostesses, wear these garments. And once our customers have selected the models they prefer, they can touch the fabric, and I can tell you they make up their minds immediately, and then they usually place their orders. So it's quite an unusual process. You know, lots of people tell us, no, just send us some drawings. And, well, for example, we work with the French Open, Roland Garros. So we've decided to design a number of things that we presented to our customers. We presented them on dummies, some mannequins, right, not models. No, actually, we presented these garments on models, but actually not professional models. People from our company, hostesses, who could work for the French Open. I'm not talking about a professional model who would be 6 feet high. Just you know, members of staff of our company who could work, and so. We've seen them wearing these garments. We've seen them, you know, sitting, standing, walking around. And based on that, we then fine-tune these garments and make sure that it can be really unique for our customers. Right. So this uniqueness is very important. What about the industry now? The industry also has to cater for this need for uniqueness for the people who will wear these garments. Well, of course, it's not something that you would see with the military, but well, I think that would be a question for you. I think it's a question for stylists. It's fair to say that this question of uniqueness creates a lot of issues at industrial level. But what we try to do is that we try to create a lot of different colors for short-lived collections, but it's difficult for us, and it's also difficult for our suppliers. Today, businesses no longer have any inventories because it means that we would have to have a lot of different colors in stock. Well, it seems that the textile industry actually has made a lot of investments recently in logistics in the supply chain. That's right. Well, actually, today there are two steps for new contracts, new businesses. So there's the design phase and then logistics. So it's actually a lot of work in terms of logistics. Basically, we have to provide the same services as Amazon. Our goods are delivered on the doorstep of our customers. Our customers have to be able to order these products on their mobile phones, on their tablets, and we have to be able to deliver these goods worldwide because we have customers globally. Also, we have to offer traceability. We want customers to be able to track and trace their parcels, so there's a lot of tracking involved. Also, we have to avoid stock out. So today, in our job, in our industry, we spend a lot of time in logistics, definitely so, because it's one of our customers' expectations. Of course, today our customers expect a garment, but they also expect a delivery on time. Yes, well, we have the same difficulties. And we've started something in our business. So people order our garments using a catalogue, and we have delivery points. Well, actually, I've seen your store in Paris. Yes, we have stores in Paris and London, Milan, Dubai. That's one division, and we have another division, as we say, which is more project-oriented. So we have customers who demand a specific design. So we have a very, very close relationship with customers, and we ask them whether we need to buy the necessary inventories because, you know, we don't want to buy fabric that we're not going to use. It would be fatal for our business. So we do this with some of our big customers who are not in the catering or the hospitality industry, and so we do store products for them, fabrics for them, but we can do them for them. But it's really difficult. Now, the main we have local stores. Oh, so is that really important to have this brick and mortar approach? Yes, it's very important, but we have to retain the virtual aspect as well, online order. So this is our global strategy for development. Right, thank you very much indeed. We're nearing the end time of this panel discussion. Do our friends from the floor have questions? Do you have any question for our panelists? Does anyone have a question for our panelists? I know it's never easy to shoot first. You don't have any questions, right? I do have a question. Well, so we have people from different industries. We've heard many different viewpoints, but you've been very clear, crystal clear about your expectations as members of the industry, as customers, as designers. So thank you very much for being so clear. Now, I have a question for you. I asked you a question earlier on, Claude. When the Galeries Lafayette store opened on the Champs-Élysées, well, you're right, it's a store with an image, right? But staff could dress as they wished. I was quite surprised. And I bumped into people who I thought were actually customers. They did not represent a brand X or Y. So what do you think about this? We're talking about a large department store on the French Champs-Élysées. So people really dressed as they wished. So what about the young people you work with? Do they want to wear what they want, or? Well, sometimes they do, and I don't have any problem with that. Now, you've just referred to the Champs-Élysées department store on the Champs-Élysées. Well, Galeries Lafayette sells fashion, right? So members of staff wear what they want, but I think there's a dress code. We also work with the Galeries Lafayette on the Boulevard Haussmann. And recently, I asked the Galeries Lafayette to show their collection, and our staff can choose from this range of garments, but it's kind of supervised, regulated. People just cannot turn up at work with whatever they want. But sometimes people don't really abide by the dress code, but it always happens. But if it does happen, our customers, tell us, come on, this is not on. So people can wear what they want, but it's sort of regulated, and they can choose from a defined collection. Well, quite obviously, in our stores, people wear our Brégard garments, right? That's a no-brainer. And our executives, like for example, the pocket you can see here. Well, I've seen it. We have the Brégard name, and it's fabric from the Vosges from the east of France. It's splendid. Maybe you can tell us more about this. It's a great initiative that has been developed with industrial companies, with this young chap Paul. But it's great, I think, this initiative. Industries have teamed up to try and create an identity. It's not only made in France, but it's made in our regions. You're absolutely right. We have approximately 250 staff. So our sales reps, so we ask our sales reps to go to the laundry workshop, to the finishing workshops, for them to understand where our fabrics, our products come from. And I have someone who works with the Vosges fabrics. He's in charge of this, and I think these initiatives are a really good thing. And I think thanks to these initiatives, French fabrics can burnish really their credentials. Well, we've also seen technical fabrics, and of course French businesses have their rightful place in this industry, like German businesses. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for taking part in this lively debate. We've heard very interesting viewpoints. We've heard about the industry, about distribution, customer services. We've heard about specific specifications. We've seen your hostesses. Maybe you also have male staff as well, of course. But thank you very much for giving your point of view. Thank you very much indeed.